Go live. And we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. You're watching the best show on Thursday nights, talking about paragliding at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Oh, yeah, it's good. Welcome. I'm seeing everybody's logging in here. Glad you are here. We're going to have a great show. We have a special guest tonight. Jeff Hamann is with us for Visit 2.0. We didn't get to all the questions that we had for him last week. And if you want to go back just a few episodes, maybe about 6 or 7 episodes ago, he is a great guest. You're going to really enjoy that episode. This is the second portion of that, so you're not going to want to miss this. I'm going to give a little details about who he is. If you probably recognize him, if you're just tuning in for the first time, if you're seeing him for the first time, you're probably saying, I recognize that guy from somewhere. It's because he's on the cover of the PPG Bible. He's got some incredible records in flying, and you're going to see some of that. I hope, Jeff, that you can screen share like you did for the after show last time we got together. And so I want to share some of that.
I'm ready.
Awesome. And before we get into business, there's some special announcements I have. PPG Smoke is doing a massive giveaway, probably the single most valuable giveaway that we have ever done on the show. He's giving away 2 motors. Simonini 140 is one of them, and a Simonini 250 motor. And stay tuned for how you can be involved in that. It's going to, obviously, you're going to have to go to the website, PPG Smoke. And when you pre-order the PPG Unity headset, this is going to get you an entry into this possible winning of these one of these motors. And so the rules and all that stuff are going to be coming soon. I have a meeting right after the show to talk about those details. So go to the website, ppgsmoke.com, get your name on the list, pre-order the headset, and you'll not be disappointed. He's doing a lot of research on that, and there's all kinds of details on his website. That's ppgsmoke.com. The show's also brought to you by paramotorprops.com. Go check out their website. Maybe you blow up a prop, and it happens. Go and buy one from them. Cheap, they ship out quick, and they're good quality. There's all kinds of details on their website. That is paramotorprops.com. Also, the show is brought to you by paraorangeproducts.com. Go check out their website. All the links of these are in the description. Go check them out, and you will not be disappointed. Jeff Hamann, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm excited to talk to you about all things flying. By the way, I'm so glad to see that you're doing better after your surgeries. You had gone through some pretty grueling stuff, and you look fabulous. And I'm glad that you're willing to come on the show.
Well, thank you. I'm feeling better. Looking forward to getting back in the air one of these days.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, he's a neighbor. I drive by his house often. And so I'm excited to have a legend that lives in the neighborhood. He's got all kinds of fun stuff to share with us tonight. I messaged Phil Russman just before the show to try to coax him to come on, but he is on the road or something. But he sent me a whole list of questions that I can ask, and some of them may be troll worthy, but we're not going to do that tonight. We are going to talk about
he knows I'll get even.
Yeah. he was very frugal with his trolling. He's not giving up the goods just yet. I was trying to get him to come on the show, but because he's on the road, he won't be able to do that. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss, and by the way, I have another announcement before the end of the show. I want to share something pretty cool with you. So we left the show last week, and we didn't have a guest on, and we were talking about pioneering sites. And I had recently flew from a new site here across the valley from Blossom, and had a great little adventure. And there was a lot of things that went into pioneering a site. Now, you have flown some incredible places, I would say nearly around the world. a lot of coastal stuff here in North America and South America. And so I wanted to ask you first, what are you looking for when you go site pioneering, launch and landing pioneering, if you will, and take us through the process maybe?
So you're talking about paragliding, not paramotoring
No,
necessarily.
paramotoring. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Paramotoring.
Well, Google Earth. I mean, what better tool?
Oh
I
yeah.
spent a lot of time on Google Earth as I plan a trip. I'll never forget in the early part of my record making flights here, I actually flew with a friend in his Husky from San Diego all the way to Acapulco over the course of 3 days. And I had my GPS with me and camera, and I'd take pictures of a nice beach and log the GPS coordinates. And I used that before the days of Google Earth. But gosh, with Google Earth now, you can pretty much get enough information to plan a trip without having to do any pre-flights. It's great.
Yeah, it's sometimes mesmerizing. People putting their photos on there, even some of the street views in places that you would never assume there'd be a street view.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Uh, so what else are you looking for when, I mean, obviously I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Soon to get a paramotor, and thank you for all the people that have been contributing. I am really, really close to having a motor. It looks like it's all going to come together for the Salton Sea Flying. Stay tuned. Um, we spent the whole day today. Anthony and myself were fortunate enough to drive around together today at work, and we were talking about the whole time, talking about launching and landing zones and where we could launch paramotors from. Uh, Maybe talk about some of the things that you're looking for when you're considering a site.
Sure. So you realize that my flying is mostly coastal flying. So
Sure.
just knowing where the wind is coming from and knowing that you need X number of feet of beach is really all I need on the beach. And I look for access to a road so you don't have to carry your gear too far. But honestly, we'll walk, 1,000 yards if we have to, a kilometer, to get to a good site. If it means getting a great beach with um, an onshore direction that makes it easy to launch. On inland sites, I drive my wife crazy. We're driving someplace and I'm looking out the window, slowing down. She said, "What are you looking at?" I said, "Man, that'd be a great place to launch right there."
Yeah.
So,
Forever changed.
yeah, like that lot across the street from where you live, you just look for big open spaces without a lot of potential rotor generating trees or buildings or fences or anything. And, beyond that, I'm not sure what to say.
Yeah. Power lines, all those.
Yeah,
Uh,
power lines for sure.
consider
Don't have
that.
to worry about that on the beach.
Something we were discussing was obviously the length of the run. Uh, have you ever had a situation where you launched from somewhere, and by the time you got back, the wind had changed and created a situation where it was rotary when you come to land?
Yeah, that's very rarely the case along the ocean.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, oftentimes there's a little bit of an offshore wind, but once the land heats up and the wind starts blowing onshore, it does not change until, half an hour before dark generally. So not an issue on the beach. What is an issue though is tides. You can launch on a beach that's adequate, and 3 hours later there's no beach. The mangroves are right down to the water. So I
Oh,
always watch the tide tables and get a good idea of when the low tides and high tides are.
ooh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. So if you're in the air long enough, especially on some of these adventures. So when I messaged Russman, he put this question out and he said, you can start by asking Jeff to summarize his goal of flying the Pacific coast and why you chose that goal. And I thought
Well,
that was a good
it
question.
just kind of evolved. I started flying along the coast of Baja, and I my instructor was the famous Bob Armand, and he organized a trip to Costa Rica. And I went down there with a group of pilots and flew some coastal areas there. And then I went to Peru with Michael O'Daniel. He organized a little trip down there, and I really enjoyed the coastal cross country flying more than any other kind of flying that I was doing. So I just started flying Mexico, and I was cherry picking the easy places to fly. And I'll never forget, I was with Casey Cadwell in Puerto Vallarta, which is a great place to fly. And we had come to the south end of that area, and you're at the end of the road, basically. And Cabo Corrientes goes out to the west, and there's no roads, and it's a jungle, and it's an imposing point that's windy. So I was just saying, to myself, this is probably it. And Casey said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me. We could do that." And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that, maybe we could do that. And to make a long story short, a year later, we rented a Ponga in Puerto Vallarta. And first we flew to Yelapa, a famous free flight spot, and spent the night there. And then in Yelapa, we put our suitcases back in the Ponga, and we flew around Cabo Corrientes to the next hotel that we could find south of there. And once I got Cabo Corrientes behind me, there didn't look like there was any other geographical limitations to doing the whole coast of Mexico. And I finished Mexico. And then, believe it or not, even a bigger challenge was Baja California. The inside and outside of Baja can be really challenging. And it took me a long time to do that. And, we rented boats in San Felipe and went to Bahia de los Angeles that way. And we did a lot of extreme off-roading to do some of it. And I also rented a boat in La Paz to get to Loreto, because there's no roads from Loreto to La Paz either.
Interesting.
So
with your paramotor gear.
I'm sorry?
With your paramotor gear also, right?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously so take us through, why was it more difficult on the other side of the Baja leg?
Well, both sides of Baja are challenging. Can I share a picture with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see, share screen. How's that?
Boom, got it.
Okay, so the outside of Baja gets a lot of wind here, and a lot of really strong wind across here, and a lot of wind across the Cape. And when you're on the inside, you get a lot of wind that comes down here, and then wind that goes over the top a lot of places. So whereas here you get a pretty standard northwest wind, when you get on the inside, it just all over the compass, and you got to be really careful.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What about those little islands there? Is that on your radar to check those out?
The only islands that I have done in Baja are down near La Paz, and you can see I did a couple little flights here.
Okay,
and
yeah.
It's an amazing place to fly. It's difficult to get the right weather conditions, but it's really beautiful, just spectacular.
And what are the
This is Isla Espiritu Santo, and it has just really neat geography, beautiful water.
So you got there by boat, obviously, and you set up somewhere in one of those little nooks.
Yeah. So the wind here was coming from the east to the west. So I set up on this sandbar between two islands and launched and crossed my fingers that the wind wouldn't change a whole lot while I flew around and enjoyed myself.
Wow. And then not much for landing options, huh?
No, if the wind switched directly to the east or from the west to the east, you could put down on some of these other little beaches. But you know, if it went to the southeast, you'd be screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. No
This
kidding.
is tall, so the
Yeah.
rotor on this side would be pretty brutal.
So this is what an adventure. And now
Isn't that
how many
beautiful?
people how many people are with you on these type trips?
You know, I did this alone, but this is a
No.
rare case. I typically fly with at least a one other guy, generally two. I like three makes a really neat team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from here to Loretto, I flew with two other guys, Casey Cadwell and Enrique Salcedo. And I actually flew alone, even with two other pilots, a couple of times. The Casey was running the boat, and Enrique had trouble launching one day, so it it varies. You know, I had up to 6 pilots from San Felipe to LA Bay. We went down to San Felipe and we rented a big fishing boat that had 9 pongas on it. And typically they cruise someplace, anchor, put the pongas in the water, and everybody goes fishing. But we put our pongas, I mean, our paramotors in the pongas and went ashore and went flying.
Nice.
And it was awesome. You know, we saw whale sharks here in Gonzaga Bay. And we, you know, flew coastline here that there's just no roads anywhere near the coast. And, you know, we'd spend the night here. We spent the night here on the boat. Flying across the islands in LA Bay was really cool, just really beautiful. And then you were talking about pioneering. We found a really fun coastal site here that had some dunes and a pretty decent wind. And we always have our free flight harnesses with us, and we enjoyed doing some soaring there before we packed our motors up and got back on the big boat.
And have you done a measurement or an estimate of how many miles you've flown so far when it comes?
Surprising that you would ask me that. I just happened to be prepared. Let's see, how do I get back to the sharing? Zoom, nothing happens. Let's see, I'm sure. Oh, here we go. New share. Okay, how about right there? Share. So this is my totals. This is my first cross-country flight in Baja in 2003.
Oh, wow.
And then most recently along the coast, I went from, see, that isn't my most recent one. Anyway, I
That was November.
I did a flight in Malibu in November, which didn't take me as far north as I've been, but that's my most recent flight. So I've done, yeah, let's see here. Direct miles. I've flown 10,300 miles.
Wow. On paramotors. That is insane.
But that's direct. It's actually 16,000.
Right, right.
And these are my GPS readings.
Right.
And these are straight line readings along the coast. So it's 25,000 kilometers.
Wow. That is insane. And we knew when you look at that line and the color coordinated lines there that it was, you know, obviously thousands of miles, but wow, 16,000. That's including the little circles and turnbacks.
So, you know, you can see it's a long way.
Yeah, that is insane. So now, I mean, you've still got quite a bit to cover to make it all the way down to the
yeah, I'm thinking I might not make it any further than about here in Chile. It just gets too crazy.
Yeah, and so there's a few reasons for that, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. The not necessarily geological location, but um, danger. Is that a part of it?
Yes. So getting much further south than this is Constitucion, Chile, the coastline is all trees. So you might have a beach, but you can't land on the beach because the trees are within 30 feet of the water.
Right.
And it's also extremely windy down here on a regular basis. They're just howling winds that come up from the southeast or southwest, sorry. And it just doesn't look like it's worth the risk to try to go much further south than
No doubt.
about here. I
So,
do hope to go further north in California, though. I've made it as far north as basically Oceano, and
oh yeah,
I'm hoping to continue on up to the Oregon border eventually.
there's a lot to explore there still.
Yeah, there really is. I
Yeah.
could do it.
Hit the Lost Coast. It's
Yes,
black sand and all that.
I'm hoping to do some of the Lost Coast this summer.
Nice.
Oh, that's excellent.
So this is my only glaring gap.
Oh, Santa Monica. Yeah.
No, this is LAX.
Yeah.
So
I see the day that you thought about sending it.
So there's the runway.
Yeah.
Right to the beach.
Yep.
And I've missed my chance. The traffic was really down for the COVID stuff.
Oh,
and
right.
I might have even got permission to fly it, but I probably missed my chance now.
Yeah. Now, how much time did you spend overall checking airspace rules for, your flights inland? It looks like you've flown all over the place when you go inland.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working on the airspace restrictions.
And do you have a device that's on you to remind you in case you start to creep into airspace?
I should, but I don't. I put waypoints on my GPS and fly the waypoints.
Oh,
and
got it.
I mark corners of restricted airspace so that I know, where I've got to hit.
Wow.
This is a big restricted airspace here.
Wow.
So it's
A great question came in from Paul Elwood. He's a local too. He actually lives on the same hill that you do, I think. He asked, he said, can you ask Jeff if there were any events like motor out forced landings and best place he saw along the way? Those two questions.
Well, we try not to have more than 2 or 3 motor out emergencies every trip.
Oh my gosh. So it's like every time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot, I don't even have this one on my map. That's terrible. So I launched right here on this little beach and flew down around this section of coastline and right in here. And I was about right here when my propeller fell off.
Oh my gosh.
And I was able to glide to about waist deep water and land in the rocky shore here.
Oh no.
But we have an engine out every trip. Another reason why you don't want to get too aggressive on dangerous coastline.
Right.
It's if any of you guys have seen Why We Fly, Phil Russman ended up spending the night or almost here because his motor wouldn't start, and we were anchored on a boat over here. As you can see, I have flown a lot more than I've got showing on my chart here for my cross country record.
Wow. So what
Yeah,
happened
I've
with,
gone into the water 3 times for engine problems.
well, okay, so how in the world did the prop come off? Was that a failure of torque and maybe some thread locker?
The the Cisco motor that I fly has a single bolt that holds the
Oh,
prop assembly
yes.
onto the shaft. And if you don't use high temperature Loctite on it regularly, it can back out. And
Oh,
the
gosh.
the way you know that is you hit the throttle and the motor goes wee and you don't go anywhere.
Yeah. Oh no.
Mhm.
That is terrifying.
Sounds fast.
What are you flying for? What are you flying with as far as flotation?
I wear a personal flotation device around my waist, and I have an Agama or one of the other brands on my motor. So I have dual flotation.
Ah, okay.
Hey, real quick question, Jeff. You mentioned Cisco Motors. It looked like I got a buddy that flies a Cisco, and during COVID, he was having trouble with the motor, and he wasn't getting much of a response at the web
Yeah,
on the website.
I'm really worried that they're finished. They
Yeah,
haven't returned any of my emails. I've tried repeatedly over the last, I don't know, 9 months. But they're in northern Italy, that
yeah.
one of the first and hardest hit in the whole world. So I've asked a couple of friends in Europe, and nobody seems to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Mm-mm-mm.
Looks like the other Italian brand's going to be taking over pretty much then, huh?
I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
So I've already forgotten what the second half of the question was, Robert.
Sorry.
The second half of the question was best place you saw along the way.
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
It's a
That
tough
is
one,
really
probably.
hard. Yeah.
I'll let you think about that for a second while I do some promotion stuff. This show is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska. If you're interested in getting some top-notch training, now's the time to sign up. There's going to be some new groups getting in the spring, and he's got a great training facility. Go check out his link in the description. And Nebraska PPG, Josh Bowden, he's an awesome guy, and he's got all kinds of great stuff for paragliding and paramotoring. So talk to him, pick his brain. He's a great guy. Reach out to him in the link in the description. Also, the show is brought to you by the Tri-State Skywalkers. If you're in the Indiana, Kentucky, or Ohio area, you can reach out to Brandon McLeod. Joining a flying club will help you to grow in the sport, make you a safer pilot. If you're interested in joining them, you can follow the link in the description. Crazy Uncle Bob donated $5 to the Super Chat. Thank you, Crazy Uncle Bob. And also Chris Fenmore donated $20 to the Super Chat. Thank you. And he said, great show. Glad you're there. Thank you so much. Really appreciate those contributions. I'm really close to getting the motor. What looks like things are going to come together, that I will have something to fly at the Salton Sea Fly-In, which is next week. So I'm almost there. Pretty excited about that. And then also wanted to mention the iFly Indiana powered paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get the proper training than iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. That's iflyindiana.com. So you bring a camera with you on most of these adventures. One question I don't want to miss before we move on, and well, actually, I'll write it down. Tell us about some of the places, some of the most beautiful things that you've seen.
So this is my website. I assume my screen sharing's working, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The pictures from all the coastline is on my website. So, you can look at a section of coast, and you can, go and look at the pictures that I have. There's pictures of every flight that we have taken along the coast of the of the Pacific. So, you know, they're here by day, and you know, some of the prettiest areas that I was telling you about, you know, the islands.
Wow.
Yeah, there's lots of really neat places to fly. So the prettiest places, you know what?
JeffHammond.net. People can go there, or is that?
Yeah, it's open access.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, let's see.
Not everyone at once. Not everyone. Don't break the
Not
internet,
yet.
guys.
No,
Don't
not
run
yet.
off to look at this yet.
Yeah. You know what? One of the really neat areas is Panama. There is some really beautiful areas to fly in Panama. Let me get the.
It's kind of a jungle, no?
Yeah, it's very challenging to fly there, but some of the areas are just spectacular.
Oh, that was a picture with a military guy down there, huh?
Yeah, we have to get lots of clearances to fly in Panama.
That was actually one of the questions
Yeah,
from Scott Vaccaro. How does he check in with different countries if he is just doing coastlines?
that's ahi right there.
Ooh.
Oh
It
yeah.
is. You're correct. We
Yep.
caught on the trip.
Ooh.
So in Panama, I made the acquaintance of Remy Schwab, and he is president of the Panama Paramotor Club.
Oh, nice.
Which, by the way, only has 2 members, but
Yeah.
He's the president, and we nicknamed him the diplomat.
Nice.
He can sweet talk anybody into doing anything. So he paved the way for us to do all of our flying in Panama, which it's really tough to fly down there. They have a lot of problems with smuggling in the Darien, and there's there's been a lot of issues there over the years with terrorism. So they've got a very heavy military presence, and you've got to file basically a flight plan for everything you do while you're there. But with Remy, it wasn't a big deal. It was pretty seamless. Costa Rica is one of the easier places to go and to fly. It was a little difficult to get our motors into the country, but once you're there, it's
look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That is
easy.
Stunning. Wow.
Yeah.
Super green.
What wing are you flying there?
That's an Eden 3. This is Phil Russman. I'm taking the pictures. Don't ask me what I'm flying. I forget.
Wow.
Yeah.
A great question came from Yankee Paramotor. He said, what's it like procuring fuel in those remote places?
You know what? It almost seems easier to get fuel in some of these third world places than here. You know, we were able to get 95 octane unleaded fuel just about anywhere. So the biggest problem is getting oil. Nobody has synthetic 2-stroke oil down there. It's unheard of. So I have on occasion flown with outboard motor oil, which
that's a great shot.
Yeah, which you don't want to do very often, but you do what you got to do, right? So Costa Rica is a beautiful place, no question.
Wow, absolutely beautiful. I'm glad you took a camera with. I can't wait to go back and surf around on this website that I didn't know you had this. This is amazing. Yeah. I would have probably stole some pictures from it for the thumbnail for this video.
Too late.
Yep, too late. Well, we'll have to do a third episode, I guess.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I've got enough pictures, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is amazing. How much of this is camping on boats or camping on shore?
Baja was a lot of camping. Mainland Mexico was, we like to say hotel hopping. You know, let's see, I don't think I did any camping anywhere along Mexico. We were able to find a hotel every night. Now, that doesn't mean it was a nice hotel, but at least we didn't have to try to set up camp, and it was fun when you can fly and land on the beach right in front of a hotel and walk in the gate and up to the front desk with a paramotor on your back.
Yeah. And they're probably wondering what you're doing with that on your back.
Yes. A
Oh
lot of
my
times
gosh.
we are met with the security guards on the beach.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they want to know what's going on. And when you tell them you have a reservation, they kind of look at you like you're nuts.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. DP donated $10 to the super chat. Thank you, DP. Appreciate that. Awesome, man.
You know, this is one of the interesting places to fly. This is the Gulf of Tehuantepec here. And cruisers know that this is one of the most dangerous places as they cruise up and down the coast, because the wind comes from the Gulf of Mexico over the isthmus and out into the Pacific. And it's not uncommon to get 100-mile-an-hour offshore winds here. So the boats hang out in this section of coast. There's a couple of harbors in Huatulco. Puerto Escondido is the most popular, and they wait for a weather window, and then they shoot across to Guatemala and get through this. So this leg here took me a week to fly from Salina Cruz to Huatulco. I actually went down with my wife and some friends, and we stayed here. And the deal was, look, we're going to vacation, but if the weather clears, I'm going to fly this.
Wow.
The rest of this I did in the summer, which it's a different risk. In the winter, the wind blows half the time. In the summer, the wind doesn't blow as often, but it rains all the time. So, I mean, you pick your poison. And we actually got rained on pretty bad in this section right here, which was a bummer, because once you leave the road here, there's no turning back until you get to here. So we got very wet in this area. Actually, you know what? It was in this area here.
Somebody mentioned they can't see what you're talking about, so maybe I don't know if the screen froze or the share cut out or something. Maybe you can stop sharing and then reshare. That might work.
Okay, let's see.
And I got to agree, because I can't see your mouse. There you go. Now we're moving to a different screen.
You see it now?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, we got your mouse and everything now. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So this section here, this is the Gulf of Tehuantepec that I was talking about in here, and this is where the wind blows across.
Ah, okay. I can see.
The area that we had to fly through the rain was in this area here, because there's just no turning back. We didn't have a boat. There's no roads. We had to make this next stop here, which is where the road comes back out to the beach.
Ah, okay. And that little section is just a giant beach there?
It's all beach, so there's plenty of places to land, but there's no way to get retrievals.
Ah, okay.
It's just a huge swamp.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. So there's actually 3 places where the wind regularly blows from the east to the west. This is the Gulf of Tehuantepec. The other one that's very famous is this area right here on the Costa Rica-Nicaragua border. This is where they call it the Papagayo winds. And just like Gulf of Tehuantepec, this is all very flat land. So no, mountainous here, all the wind blows right across here. And
Okay.
it'll blow 75 miles an hour coming across from the Gulf, from the Caribbean.
Wow.
Then the third place is actually in Panama. It's more north to south here, but the wind howls out into the Gulf of Panama. So we waited, I think, 3 days to get a good weather window to fly these two legs here. And then this was another trip when I flew that leg. And this is the only place I've ever been arrested.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua.
That sounds about right.
So one of the questions was, how do we get across borders? In Nicaragua, I actually launched in El Salvador and flew 11 miles across the water here.
Wow.
And landed at the first port of entry for boats in Nicaragua.
Wow.
And I called the port captain and I said I wanted to clear in. And he said, so what boat are you on? And I said, I don't have a boat. I flew in. And he scratched his head and had no idea what to do with me. So he called his buddies, and eventually, they rode out on their motorcycle, and I showed them my gear out here on the beach, and they took pictures and they stamped my immigration card and welcomed me to Nicaragua. So I, blindly flew the rest of the country. And then I thought, okay, it's, we're going to leave Nicaragua. I better check out. And in retrospect, I should have just left.
Yeah.
I called the port captain here, and he stamped my passport and wished us luck. And then a couple hours later, there was a knock at our hotel, and it was a messenger from the port captain. He needed to see us again. And after he'd stamped our passports, he decided he better call somebody, and they ended up calling officials in Managua, and before the end of the day, they'd impounded our gear and our van, and told us that we'd broken every law in Nicaragua. And
Oh no.
so I think we were there for 2 nights, and eventually ended up paying a fine, and they gave us our gear and escorted our van to the border and put us into Costa Rica.
No kidding. So you sat in jail for 2 nights?
No, they
They
just confined us to our hotel.
Oh, okay.
So there's just no way I was going to leave this section of coastline unflown, right? So what did I do? I launched here in Costa Rica, and I flew up to San Juan del Sur and gave the 1-finger salute to the port captain, and turned around and flew back to Costa Rica.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. A lot of stories.
Yeah. So, maybe you can mention something. And, I wanted to share something. If you can stop your screen sharing for just a second, I want to share something that I'm not going to screen share, but I want to show you something that we have a new sponsor, if you will, John Adams, and he makes these wooden signs. So check this out. He made this for me. Very, very happy about this. It's just a really nice wooden flag, framed. And so it's JK Custom Carves, and you can find him on Facebook if you want to get something like this. And he shipped it out right after he said he was going to make it. And so anyways, I thought it was such a cool thing, maybe put in your office or whatever. go check out his website or his Facebook page, I should say. It's JK Custom Carves on Facebook, and super cool. $130 shipped to your door, and the details are on his page. So I know he's watching in the chat, so I appreciate your doing that. We do want to spin the wheel. Sean, I know, has been waiting. He's
Yeah.
little bit over.
Now, if I got any
overdue.
doubles, I'm going to say right now, if I got any doubles, sorry, y'all.
Yeah, you're the
because
lucky one.
I tried to keep up. There's times where YouTube is freezing up when there's a whole lot of like incoming at one time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it freezes up and then it backs up and then it just goes thoof, and it shows everything all up at once. And then it's like, so
Yeah.
I've had to fight it off and on throughout the show, but I think I did a pretty good job. So
Love it.
yeah. Let's spin this wheelie dealy. Ha ha ha. Okay, here we go.
So we're gonna give away a T-shirt tonight. Your name's in the wheel
So you can see it?
of spinny things. The spinny wheel of Winnie things. Go ahead and spin it.
All right, here we go.
So this show is brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. If you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. LoneStarParamotor.com is the website. Also, this show is brought to you by Torrey Pines Glider Port. If you want to learn how to free fly in the most beautiful place in the United States, you can reach out to Max Marion or any of the guys there at Torrey Pines. The website there is flytorrey.com. That's FLYTORREY.com. Fly Torrey. Oh yeah. I'm missing Craig Taylor. I know he's been super busy. He's getting his credentials to be able to
Robert, what
airplanes.
are you doing on there?
Is my name on there?
It is.
Nice.
Oh.
Oh,
Chuck Johnson. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Chuck Johnson.
Chuck Johnson.
Congratulations, Chuck Johnson. You are the winner, chicken dinner. Please reach out to me through the website, paraglidingtalk.com, and fill out your information on there. Tell me what size shirt you wear, and we'll ship one out. Thank you for being a participant in our spinny wheel and watching the show. By the way, all you guys that are in the chat, you guys are awesome, man. I really appreciate you guys show up every week ready to hang out, and what a fun thing. We got some cool stuff on paraglidingtalk.com. If you want to catch any of the episodes that you maybe didn't get a chance to watch, maybe you're out flying instead, go back on some of the old ones. The website's paraglidingtalk.com, and you can go episodes 1 through 50, and then it's all broke down in there. And you can also go to the support page and check out all the people that have been supporting the show and making this show possible. So I appreciate all you guys that support the show on Patreon and PayPal. You guys are awesome.
See, Robert, I was so on top of my game, I even added you in there.
Yeah.
Because you were in the chat.
I was chatting,
like,
that's
well,
right.
He was chatting, so
Hey, I'm not going to miss an opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? Since I threw your name in there, everybody should hit that like button for us.
Oh, the like button.
Raise that algorithm up here. We've had an awesome guest tonight. He's covered a lot of information, and a very, very, very good guest. He's got a lot of insight. A lot of people can learn a lot from him.
Yeah, incredible. So many people chatting, and the chat's moving very quickly. So I do want to mention what and I'll ask this question about your flying. What is the most dangerous part of this whole thing? Because obviously you're dealing with numbers of different dangerous things. What would you say is the single most dangerous thing? And maybe talk about some things that you would say, I'm not going to try to fly as much as you want to. You put a lot of effort into getting to a certain place. You say, you know what, I really want to make this happen because I took the time off. I paid for the airfare. I got these cars. I got these people are with me. We're going to make this happen. Talk about things that would turn you away.
Yeah, it's hard to know when to say no, isn't it? I like to fly with some guys that help put the brakes on when we need to. And the things that scare me the most are those things that you can't control, like an engine out or bad change in weather. The things that you can control, like a geographical obstacle that you can plan to go really high for, or going across a bay where you can have a boat follow you. Those don't scare me as much as the unpredictable things. I remember one flight specifically in Panama with Jeff Goyne and Phil Russman, of all people. We both launched, and the conditions were a little bit questionable, but we had local pilots there that assured us that, we get down the beach a couple of miles and the wind was going to do this and everything was going to be fine. But the exact opposite happened, and we found ourselves in some severe offshore wind and rotor, and combined with a thunderstorm that was creating some incredible cloud suck.
Ooh.
And we took numerous collapses and couldn't get back to where we'd launched. And the three of us basically ended up kind of all going our own ways, trying to figure out, what we were each capable of doing. And fortunately, all three of us managed to get on the ground safely without injury, but it was amazing how different routes we each took. I figured that I wanted to get out from under the effect of the rotor from this big mountain. So I went down low and offshore, and I was probably a half a mile offshore as I went down, and then turned around and came back into the beach. I had my flotation. So, I figured if I did go down, I could swim that far. And so I got underneath the worst of it and landed on a good section of beach. So I was the first to be picked up. And Jeff Goyne went inland and tried to get to the other side of this mountain that was creating the rotor, and ended up landing with an offshore wind. But I should say, I found some onshore wind where I landed based on the shape of the coastline and getting underneath what was going on with this mountain. He landed an offshore wind behind three 20-story condo buildings in a big grassy area. And Phil just kept going up the coast and ended up in the cloud suck. And he was doing circles or spirals trying to get down, and big ears trying to get down. And we actually watched him for an hour with binoculars from the beach and talking to him on the radio. And finally he got down out of the cloud suck, but the area that he was trying to land was a cliff. And every time you get close to the top of the cliff, he'd, get a
Ridge shore up.
Big ridge lift. And so he
it's
took
funny
a long time to get down.
He shared that story on the show when he was on last.
Yeah.
Well,
Jeff Goyne, who has more hours than anybody I know, still says that that's the scariest flight he's ever been on.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be terrifying when you're talking about, well, my options are I'm going to land in the water, and that's going to be the safest play. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So he ended up landing, Jeff ended up landing somewhere random, but not eventful.
Yes. He landed inland of these buildings with an offshore wind, and there was a clearing that gave him enough room to avoid any tree rotor or anything, because the wind was still blowing pretty strong there, but he was out of the big rotor from the mountain.
What do you guys do for weather checking? And especially, 2003, I wouldn't say that the weather predicting was as elaborate as it is today.
No.
What was your go-to, and how much of your flying was just putting a finger up in the air?
Boy, you're going to make me rack my brain now.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase the question a little bit.
Yeah.
So planning the trips, is really critical to know what the average weather is in a location.
Sure.
You don't want to go there when the wind is 90% of the time unfavorable. You want to go there when it's, 10% unfavorable. So I ran across this guy in Hawaii who did trip planning for racing sailboats. And I hired him for the first 5 years to do a 1-year analysis of a section of coastline for me. And he would dig up old weather records and put together charts for me. If I had them handy here, I'd bring one up. But
wow.
But now you can get almost the same stuff free off the internet with Weather Underground and some of these other sites.
Right. Windy.
And Windy's not great for historical, but it's my favorite site for daily weather forecasts.
Sure,
now.
Sure.
And before that, in the other countries, we used Weather Underground. We used probably a half a dozen different websites as they each started offering stuff that made more sense for what we were trying to do.
Who would you say of the three, you, Phil Russman, Jeff Goen, who's kind of the guy who makes the call on the weather stuff?
I did all of the pre-trip research, and and then honestly, it's a collective decision on the daily forecasts.
Right.
You look at the forecast, and sometimes somebody elects to stay on the ground based on what the forecast looks like. In fact, that day that Phil and Jeff and I got into the cloud, Michael O'Daniel was with us, and he decided that he didn't like the way it looked, and he stayed on the ground.
Oh, and everybody else still flew, huh?
Yeah.
That's probably difficult when you guys are in a different country.
No, we always have a ground crew. So
I see.
He just rode in the van. No big deal.
No kidding. How do you find trust in these guys that you don't really know? You're gonna put a lot of your life in their hands for the trip.
Yeah, and your gear. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's really tough.
And I mean, obviously there's some praying involved, but what do you attribute is there certain things that you look for? Is there certain people that you reach out to first to say, hey, do you know anybody that's going to be in this area?
Well, in Mexico, I was able to use people that I knew. Once we got south of Mexico, actually, I had friends in Guatemala that arranged everything for us too. El Salvador was a absolute stab in the dark. There was nobody down there that we could find that knew anything about flying. We just hired a company to supply a Sprinter. Excuse me. And, two guys that just traveled with us. And fortunately, they were trustworthy, and that worked out well.
And so after you get in contact with these guys, you obviously keep their information, try to get a hold of them again if you're going to come back to the same area and try to use them.
Sometimes we leave our motors with them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so hard to get motors.
Robert. Just think on that, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better start raising money for your next motor, Robert. You need to leave one.
So get used to that unsure feeling, buddy. Get used to that unsure feeling. It'll become natural and normal to you.
Oh man, you have to go back.
It is so hard to get motors into another country from the U.S. Flying to Peru, for instance, that we just started leaving them down there rather than try to go through the brain damage again.
Wow.
So I have 2 motors in Chile right now.
No kidding.
Wow.
So Flying Daughteries asked this question. He said, does Jeff have a favorite paramotor?
I love my Cisco 120, but I'm not sure they're available any longer. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to try to also use some of my reach to see if we can get a hold of somebody.
I'd appreciate it.
You have something in particular that you're wanting from them?
Yeah, I want to get another motor,
Okay. Yeah, we'll
a 120.
got it. We will we'll talk about it just a little bit in the after show. By
Sure.
the way, if you guys want to join the after show and you're one of the Patreon supporters, PayPal supporters, or a super chat supporter, you can join the after show. Just put your email in the chat. We're going to hang out for just a little while longer. I'm not going to hold Jeff hostage if he wants to log off. But
Well, I do want to do one bit of self promotion before you cut off.
Yes, please do.
I wanted to show you the new calendar from all my pictures from
Nice.
the trips.
Oh my gosh, I must have one. Where can I buy this?
Is that the cost of being able to show this on your show? Is I have to give one to you?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. I didn't want to have to pay for it. I need a free one.
This is actually done every year by Mo Sheldon at Air Paramo,
Oh,
the guy that runs the Arizona Flying Circus.
I was going to say that's an Arizona number. Yeah.
Everybody that goes to the Arizona Flying Circus, I'm sure he's got them there to sell. Otherwise, you can go to the Air Paramo website and he's got them for sale there.
Oh, that's great.
So I've got pictures from Chile and Mexico and
Yes.
San Diego and Santa Barbara and the desert.
Nice.
Really some cool stuff.
I've got a life goal. That's one of the life goals is to get a calendar picture. So there's hope.
Well, you know, Robert, I'm going to be down there Salton Sea with you. I could very well take some pictures for you for your calendar, buddy.
You know what, Jeff, I'd love to have you come on one more time and just talk about the photography aspect. We had George Steinmetz on the show from National Geographic.
We better wait a year then.
He did such a great job and shared pictures. What an incredible photographer. Just some of the stunning pictures. He's doing a lot of stuff with drones now, so a little different on the paramotoring aspect. But he pioneered some of the greatest air to land photography.
Some of those Africa shots that he did were just indescribable.
Yeah, and it's not only like anybody can take pictures of terrain at the right time and sunset, but I mean he's got things that are just mind-boggling. If you go follow him, I've reached out to him. He's going to come on the show again at some point. But if you follow him on Instagram, your mind will be blown. It's amazing. We're going to go to the after show. Support Resurgence PPG. If you're interested in supporting our men and women with uniform, you can make a tax-deductible donation to resurgenceppg.com. Go check out their website. By donating, you are sponsoring those who have put their lives on the line for our freedom, and I encourage you to do that. You can reach out to Todd Scandrett at resurgencepppg.com. Thank you guys for watching. Love the feedback. People are always sending messages and encouraging words. Thank you for your encouragement in the chat. You guys are awesome. Every week I have a great time. I always look forward to it. Jeff, thank you so much again for coming on. We absolutely love it, and such a great show. This is going to go down in the books as one of the top 10, I would say. And so I'm so excited. We're going to go to the after show. We will see you on the next one. If